Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is a martial artist, a film director, producer, actor, stuntman. He started out producing and directing commercials before moving into directing, choreographing, and producing action films. You may recognize some of his directing work like Recoil, Confessions of a Pit Fighter, Assassin X, and more. You've seen his acting on screen in such titles as Chinatown Connection, The Power Within, Tiger Heart, and Little Bigfoot 2. He's worked with people like Scott Adkins, Dolph Lundgren, Steven Seagal, just to name a few, and his autobiography of Filmmaker's Journey was published in 2017. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Art Camacho. How you doing today, sir?
Doing real good. You did your homework. I didn't know I did that.
I take it seriously, man. I like to do good intros for people. Uh-huh. I've had a few of them be like, can you send me that intro for my voicemail? So, yeah, it's all good.
It sounds good, buddy. It sounds good.
But hey, seriously, thank you so much for doing this. I know how busy people are, and I truly appreciate the time you're willing to give for this.
No, thank you. And I mean it. It's not fake for me, but what I really appreciate is that you're even considering me to do your podcast. So thank you.
Hey, like I said, I'm looking forward to learning even more about you than I didn't find on my research. But so what we like to do with all my guests, I want to go back to the very beginning. I want to know where that first interest came from, where that first spark for martial arts, kind of maybe what kicked off your martial arts journey.
I think what sparked everything was coming from a really messed up childhood. Okay. And I say that not to put down my parents or anything else, but we were really, they were bordering on alcoholism, divorce, the whole 9 yards. And escapism to me was comic books. And then from there, in my early teens, I discovered Bruce Lee. And that was a big escape for me. I remember specifically, and I put it in my book because this changed my whole life. Watching my first Bruce Lee film called Chinese Connection. Oh, yes. I'm thinking Chinatown. I'm thinking, no, Chinese Connection. I kid you not, it was one of those things I was fated to be because we went there. We almost didn't make it into the theater. It was a big fight to try to get in, but finally we got in. And I sat there, and there was maybe less than a dozen people in the theater. And when Bruce Lee first came on the screen, something just hit me, brother, and it changed my life. And then simultaneously, it was like the perfect storm because around that period of time, I got jumped by 5 gangbangers, and They beat me to a pulp. I'm telling you, I have 11 stitches on my right eye, stitches in my mouth, head, you name it. But all those things combined really affected me, and I had a choice. I didn't know it at the time, but I could have, went extremely negative and just said, screw the world, or did what I did. I started training in martial arts, but it took me about 3 weeks to even step out of my house. I was so afraid, so traumatized.
Imagine. Wow.
And yeah, but you know what? Ever since I started training, I've never looked back.
How did you find that first school? What went into finding that?
Well, you know what it was? It was just looking around. I mean, first I tried Japanese karate. The instructor was a friend of my father's, and 3 months into it, he knew I wasn't cut out for it. He told my father. He said, "You know what? Because I was an obese kid, very obese. My favorite meals were, grape sodas and Twinkies. That was my. I'm
Nice.
telling you, man.
Okay.
That was my diet, and. And I used to actually, we were kind of not poor, but I don't know the term you use, but we used to take food stamps. So I used to steal food stamps from my parents to go buy my ho-hos, my Twinkies, my grape sodas,
Wow.
you name it.
Okay.
And I was terrible in martial arts at first, And so 3 months into it, my father pulled me. Then after this whole thing happened, getting beat up, then I started taking it a little more serious. Even then, I took Taekwondo, and I went to different schools and different martial arts, and it just wasn't wasn't for me. I didn't feel it.
Okay.
And one day I'm in Mexico, and there was this instructor, kung fu instructor, teaching kung fu in his backyard. And my cousin and his friends were training with him. So I said, "Hey, can I join in?" And so I joined in, and that was it. I was hooked. I trained with him initially, but then I found my home later on with the one Hao Kwendo, Eric Lee, who became my Sifu.
Okay. Well, how
Yeah,
long
go
was,
ahead.
like, how many schools did you try before you found that first Kung Fu school?
I tried probably about half a dozen.
Wow.
Half a dozen schools because I just wasn't. I'm telling you, man.
Mhm.
If you see me now, if you see how physically, I'm very every day. I train every day like clockwork. But as a kid, I tell you, that was the last thing on my mind. I was
Mhm.
fat. I was happy with my ho-hos and my grape soda.
Yep.
Don't take that away from me, man. I hated. I was the farthest thing from anything physically fit that you can imagine.
Mhm.
And here I am, taking off my shirt, making films, and yikes.
That's impressive though for a kid, because I mean, normally it's like a parent will just pick, here's the closest school and you're going to do it. And
Yeah.
you had enough of it in you to be like, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. And you've kept going until you finally found something that was for you. So that's impressive for a kid.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you. But you know what? It was something in me that just kept me going. And then also that obsession with Bruce Lee. I was so obsessed. And at first, and here's the thing, here everybody goes through this. First, they see Bruce Lee, they're blown away. They want to be Bruce Lee. And then they're doing the manners and everything else. But then, unfortunately, I've seen several people throughout my life, they don't transcend that. They stay and they're, I don't know what it is. It's a weird kind of thing where they think they're Bruce Lee, to be honest with you. It really is. I've seen that so many times. And to me, I use Bruce Lee as kind of my North Star more than anything. Because I thought, man, I want to be Art Camacho, but I want to follow this man. What his determination? What is he about? What made him tick? What created this greatness in him?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started, literally. He was into Kobe Bryant. I started picking up books that he read. I started, actually, the funny thing is, I ended up so obsessed that I ended up meeting his wife, his daughter, Brandon Lee.
Wow.
His students. I ended up training with Daniel Santo, Richard Castillo a little bit, Jerry Poteet, and just on and on because I was so obsessed. But I remember one of the biggest things, actually, two of the biggest things in my life, Bruce Lee wise, was I ended up volunteering at this Bruce Lee museum in Hollywood. And they happened to be doing this thing where they're traveling. They had the actual one of the Game of Death suits with the footprint on it, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's footprint on it.
Cool.
It was and the nunchucks that he used from Enter the Dragon, the black one. And it was so cool. I've seen that every day. I'd go on the weekends and go there and clean up and sweep and mop. And one day the owner, Norman Boree, says, "Hey Art, we're going to do a big display, a traveling display, and it's near your house. So why don't you pack up the stuff we're going to display, take it home, and then bring it the next morning." So are you kidding me? So I had that suit, the nunchucks, and different memorabilia. I had it at my house. And I'm sitting there, brother Brian. I'll tell you, man, I'm looking. It's like in a movie. You're sitting there, you're watching it. You get up, you pull it out, put it back. Pull it out, pull it back. Before you know it, I'm wearing the damn thing.
I was going to ask that. That's awesome. So awesome.
I'm doing my Bruce Lee imitation, swinging those nunchucks.
I love it.
Oh man,
that is so cool. Wow.
It was so cool, man. But through that experience, I ended up meeting Bruce Lee's mother, and she actually taught me how to use chopsticks. Grace Lee taught me how to use chopsticks.
That's cool.
You know? Yeah. Then again, a year later, he calls me one day and says, "Art, I'm going to have lunch with Bruce Lee's wife, Linda Lee. Would you want to come down?" Of course I do. So we go down there. I'm sitting in Linda Lee's house. We're drinking tea out of cups they had given Bruce Lee with his image from Way of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And then she took us into a room where she had all his books. So, Brian, I swear to God, for this Bruce Lee freak, it was like Nirvana. It was amazing.
Wow. See, I would have probably shown up wearing a Bruce Lee T-shirt, looking like a dork.
I thought about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm a geek. I don't appear like Bruce Lee geek, but I am a Bruce Lee geek.
That's so
I gotta
awesome.
tell you, brother.
Wow, that is so cool. So cool. So how long did you stay at that first Kung Fu school in Mexico before you made your way to Eric Lee?
It was only a few months because it was the summer. I spent it with my cousins down there.
Okay.
Then I came back, and it was through this museum, this Bruce Lee museum. Eric Lee was giving a seminar, and I had seen Eric Lee on magazine covers and stuff. You know, as a kid, it's like wow. Then I'm there meeting him and training with him, and this man, he changed my life. He was my mentor. He broke me into films, into fight choreography. He's everything. I love him to death as my sifu, as my instructor, as you know, as a friend, as a human being.
Yeah.
You know, I love him. I love him to death. Without think this way, without Bruce Lee's influence, or without Eric Lee's physical influence, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
That's
and
cool.
That's God on the street.
Yeah, I got to interview Eric a couple. Let's see, it was back in, when did his episode come out? Eric Lee, October 3rd was his episode. So I probably interviewed him back in September, a couple months ago. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was fun to talk to. He was. I think it took me about a year to lock him down when I had initially asked about it and stuff. But yeah, he was definitely fun to. And I've been lucky enough. I haven't interviewed Shannon yet. She's on my dream list. But I've interviewed some other ones of Bruce Lee students. You know, from back in
nice.
My 6th episode 4 years ago was James DeMille.
Oh really?
I was actually
wow.
I believe I was his last interview before he passed away, unfortunately.
Oh wow.
But
wow.
I talked to him. I talked to Tom Bleecker, who was a good friend of Bruce Lee's.
Tom, yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah. Tom was actually my first episode.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's got stories.
Yeah.
That guy's got stories.
He had a lot of.
I love Tom.
He had a lot of stories. He was fun to talk to. So yeah, I've been lucky. I never got to meet those people, but yeah, Shannon's on the dream list. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping. I have a request out, and I've actually interviewed her, many good friends of hers and stuff. And so yeah, I'm
nice.
hoping. I'm really hoping. Fingers crossed. I mean, that's how I get all my guests. It's all through other referrals and stuff. I'm like, oh, I know this person. Oh, this, you know. I mean, like I interviewed Karen Shepard, and she's like, well, I used to babysit Mark Dacascos. I'll call him for you. Next thing you know, I got an email from Mark Dacascos. Hey, I'll do your podcast. I'm like, all right, cool. So yeah, it's all about making those connections like we were talking about before we started recording.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. You know, and another guy that I met, we weren't friends, but I met him a few times, is Brandon Lee. Sweetest guy you can imagine. Sweetest guy, just down to earth. And he was so proud and so excited to where he was in life.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he loved his father. And I remember another point in my life that was very impactful is that we were doing, again, through that museum, Roman Morena, and that museum was called the World of Bruce Lee. We did a tribute, kind of a dinner, a fundraising dinner for Bruce Lee in the museum back in Chinatown, Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And, Linda Lee attended, and Brandon was there. I mean, he was only like 12 or 13 at the time.
Wow.
And it was amazing because at the end of this whole event that we did, he came up to me and said, thank you so much for what you did for my father. And oh man, that broke my heart.
Wow.
That really touched me so much, brother. It really, gosh.
Wow.
Those are moments you never forget.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was a huge fan of his. I mean, I was a huge fan of Bruce, huge fan of Brandon. I mean, Brandon, both of them just way too young. Had such careers in front of them. I remember back in like the 90s, me and my friends were talking like, God, if Bruce Lee was alive, he'd be playing a Jedi Master in the new Star Wars movies coming out and stuff. We were like plotting his career for him and stuff. And if Bruce would have been there and everything, and Brandon would have been a young Jedi, and like, we had it all figured out,
I loved it.
I know. You imagine Bruce Lee as a Jedi. How cool would that have been?
Oh my God, he was amazing. And that's the thing. I mean, like I told you, I trained a little bit with Dan Inosanto at the Kali Academy early on. And then most recently, I started training with the last 5 years with Samuel Kwok and Wing Chun.
Cool. Okay.
It's just been I can't tell you, man. I can't tell you how wonderful this whole life experience has been.
Nice. I actually think I met Samuel when I lived in California, when I was at the Long Beach Internationals. I think he might have been there doing a talk or something. 'Cause I met a lot of people that weekend. I remember that was the first time I met Benny the Jet, and I met James Hong. And different people like that. And God, I'm drawing a blank on her name. She played Kumiko in Karate Kid 3 or Karate Kid 2.
Sure.
Yeah. But I've met all these people and stuff, and I'm pretty sure I met Samuel too. So he's another one. I put a request in, so hopefully I'll get him on the show too. But and Dan I've never met, but I had Diana on the show, which was cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
She was a sweetheart.
And Benny, so cerebral, so spiritual, so deep.
Yes.
Every conversation, man. You could be talking about lunch and it's deep.
Yeah. Yeah. He was definitely fun to chat with. So when you were training with Eric, did you ever get involved in the competition side of things? I know a lot of his students did competition. Did you ever do that?
No, I didn't. I trained with him, and then I started traveling with him, being his uki, because we
Okay.
did. I remember one year we went around the country. He was doing seminars and performances, and I was there. I was there, his assistant, his uki, his whatever he needed, valet, you know. And unfortunately, and here's the thing, it's funny because I've never been a very, top martial artist. I'm damn good at what I do. I
Yeah.
am damn good at what I do. But when I was training, I'd always be the slowest kid in the class. I was always, man. I swear to you, I remember at the Kali Academy, I was training with Dan when I couldn't initially grab. Now I'm really, really strong at weapons, but initially it was like, I was almost dyslexic in the sense that we're training the escrimas and that kind of stuff. And I was getting so behind. So I would miss a couple of classes so I can try to catch up. But by the time you come back, they're already 10 steps ahead of you, So it's like, I couldn't wait for nothing.
Wow.
But once I got it, I got it. And the secret I think the secret that I found to whether it to Bruce Lee or to my expression of martial arts is the explosiveness of the martial arts. Because you see technical people, and I see people for hundreds and hundreds of martial arts throughout the years, and you see them, and some are extremely, extremely technically great, but they're not exciting to watch. And the ones that are exciting to watch are the ones that have that it factor. That it factor is that explosiveness. And that's what I tried to master, whipping your movements, whether it's your head, your body, your feet, everything. And that to me was one thing that I'm very good at in terms of that. Not that I'm excited to watch at all, but I'm saying is that creates the illusion of speed where there's very little speed.
Right. Nice. I like that.
So
how long were you training with Eric before you started kind of branching out and learning these other styles and stuff and training with other people? Was that pretty quick, or did you stay with Eric for quite a while?
No, it was pretty quick because I was always, like I told you, being introduced and meeting so many people at that period of time. So even though One Up Kwando is my core, I'm a 6th-degree black belt in One Up Kwando, I was exposed to various martial arts at that time.
Okay.
Whether it was, Jim Lau in Wing Chun at the time, and then the Kali Academy. So it was a lot of it was concurrent, but never as extensive as it was with Eric. So he's my sequel. That's why I always say One Up Window is my foundation. Everything else are different branches from that tree to me,
I'm kind of the same way. My foundation is traditional Taekwondo, even though I did study other, kind of like you. I did other styles first.
Yeah.
I did Tang Sudo, I did Shotokan, I did Aikido, but traditional Taekwondo I've been in for 32 years,
nice.
with some breaks, obviously, because of injuries and family and stuff, but that's my core system. And then the other styles, American Kempo and some Hapkido and some boxing and stuff that I've blended in with it. But traditional Taekwondo is my core system. So I know what you mean.
Absolutely. And that's the way I feel. I mean, to this day, even though I'll be training with different masters in different areas, Eric Lee's my sequel. That's my art,
So do you still get to train with him, or?
No, rarely.
Okay.
We get together every now and then, but it's mostly social. But no, every time, whenever he calls and whenever he has seminars, I'll try to make time for it.
Now, you mentioned helping him with seminars. So did you ever yourself get involved in the teaching side of martial arts?
Not the martial arts, but in the 90s, I was definitely, I started teaching this self-defense at first for small groups. And then I found a niche in teaching screen fighting, movie fighting.
Okay.
And so I was doing that constantly. I was in Germany teaching. I was in Switzerland. I've been, all around, probably about 15 states, giving seminars, and it's been fun.
Yeah.
That to me is fun.
Do you still do that?
I do want to get a chance.
Okay.
I do want to get a chance because to me, teaching is fun. Teaching is fun. And believe it or not, through those seminars, I discovered so many different martial artists. I've put in close to 800 plus martial artists in films that never would have stepped foot in front of a camera.
Wow.
And now are doing Iron Man, Marvel, you name it.
Wow. I'll have to tell my son to watch out for one of your seminars.
100%, brother. 100%. We should coordinate one. I'm telling you, man. My philosophy on that is let's say, for instance, whenever you get real strong instructors who are real good at what they do, they're not only teaching, but they practice it themselves, And when I do a seminar, I don't talk theory. I talk practical stuff that has been with me for 30 years.
Nice.
Stuff that I've applied in films with Steven Seagal, with Don, with Dolph. Everything that I teach is stuff that I actually apply. And at the end of the seminar, my feeling is I failed if I don't make you ready to step on a film set the next day.
Wow.
That's my feeling.
That's cool. Yeah, we'll have to keep in touch about that, because I know my son's instructor at his college for acting, where he's going to for acting, has talked about bringing in some professionals to the class and stuff, and so maybe we could even work it out through his college to bring you in for a seminar. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, because and here's the thing about what I do, and I've been very glad. I'm not pitching myself. I'm just telling you from my perspective. Yeah. You're talking to somebody who's been in the trenches, and much like Isaac. I was a stuntman before I was a fight choreographer. I was a fight choreographer before I was a director, and so even now, the last film I did, I had stunt coordinators on it, but I still jump in there.
Nice.
I can't help it. I'm the director. I did this film with Harvey Keitel and Tyrese, and I had to jump in there and do the choreography. We did some cool fights and shootouts and stuff.
That's awesome. I definitely want to get into the Hollywood thing and how that started, but one quick question. You mentioned, training with like Dan and Santo and stuff. So curious, do you have a favorite weapon?
Mine is always the Screamer stick. I love that. And knives. I love that because it's exciting, to be honest with you. It's an exciting weapon. It's practical in some ways, in a lot of ways. The only thing is that the reality of the practice that I've seen, at the end of the day, when you see people sparring, all they're doing is hitting and dodging, but the techniques, when you're practicing the techniques and the flow, I love that. And it's very visual. And what I do, believe it or not, I apply a lot of the concepts, a lot of the stuff you see me do in film, I take from college, from Daniel Santos' teachings, the footwork, the angles, and like, for instance, to me, there's no difference between striking with an Eskrima stick or striking with my hand in terms of the angles for what I do.
Okay.
And the footwork, the triangle footwork, all that stuff is from the martial arts.
That's cool. So speaking of the Hollywood, kind of curious how that started for you. Where how did that first door open, or kind of what led to that?
$50. $50
Really?
Started it. Yeah, Eric Lee's been doing films, and I helped him on one small film that he did called Master Demon. It was a forgettable film, but it was a labor of love for me and Eric. But when he was starting to choreograph for Don Wilson, they were needing people, and he called me out of the blue. He goes, "Hey, you know what? You want to get the butt kick for $50? I'm there. I'm there. $50? Are you kidding me? $50 is gold. It's a lot. It's like, if somebody's told you $10,000 right now, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I was dirt broke, and to come and play for, they pay you for it. Mm-hmm. Come on. And that was it. That's what got me hooked. I mean, I started a film called Chinatown Connection with Lee Majors Jr., another forgettable film. But I wasn't working. I couldn't get myself arrested as an actor. And this call came as a blessing. And here I am on the set, one of my first films, working with Dom the Dragon Wilson, who I love to death, man.
Yeah.
And we did this big scene in Chinatown in Los Angeles. And real quick, I'll try to make the story short. But again, I never had any formal training. Nobody trained me to fight choreography, to stunt fight, anything. I just did it as a kid. So I was very natural at it. So I was very natural, punching, kicking, falling. And it's one scene we're doing. This guy's supposed to kick me in the chest. I go flying back. And he was a kickboxer, but he had very little experience on film fights. So he was really kicking me. And the first kick, he hit me, straight onto the chest. I literally go flying backwards, 4 or 5 feet because of the impact of the kick. And I didn't have elbow pads, knee pads. I didn't know any of that stuff. I felt fine, And I'm, you're in your 20s. You're tough. Come on. You're macho. Or so I thought. I won't do that now, but so take number 2, it goes a little higher on the chest. Same impact, same thing. I mean, I go flying backwards. So finally, but I'm getting the hang of it. I said, okay, great. If I run into him at this point, he's throwing the kick. So I started doing my own mathematics in my head on distance and timing and everything else, because I learned that the hard way. So by take number 3, literally that kick went straight on in the throat. Straight on in my throat. And I kid you not, Brian, had I taken that kick solid with a solid stance, it would have crushed my windpipe. But what helped me is that I had already timed it. So by the time he kicked me, I was almost off the ground already because I threw my feet up. And so it just pushed me farther back. So I went flying back. Everybody saw this guy kick me in the throat. I go back, I fall to the ground. And it's deathly quiet because at the end of the scene, you're supposed to pretend you're dead or knocked out, whatever, until you hear cut. You do not move. And so it seemed like hours. And in my head, I thought, oh shit, I screwed it up. I screwed up this guy kick. Oh my God. Here's my first job in Hollywood and I'm getting fired. And I'm lying there with my eyes closed. And finally I had the guts to open them up. And I look up and everybody's standing looking down at me. Hey, are you okay? I go, what? What do you mean? I'm sorry. I started apologizing. They go, what are you apologizing for? We thought you were dead. You know, we started kicking you in the throat.
Wow.
And I was getting up, and I didn't mean to ruin your shot. And they're shaking their heads. And then I heard the producer tell the director, you know what? We got to bring back that Mexican. He works cheap and he doesn't complain. You know?
Wow.
And that's what started my career. I kid you not, Brian. True story.
That's crazy. So then after that, what made you want to keep doing it? I mean,
it was just fun.
Nice.
It was play. It was like, wow, you know, so I started doing film after film after film. And then out of the blue, one producer saw me. I was helping Eric. I was helping others choreograph. By that, I mean, I was just kind of, you know, they'd say, okay, this guy's supposed to throw a kick and a punch. You'd make sure he throws a kick and a punch. So I was assisting, kind of showing them and helping them. And I kid you not, brother, 20 films after that, I had a producer and director ask me, do you want to choreograph films?
Wow.
And I said, okay. So then again, 20 films after that, or 10, 15 films after that, I forgot the number. A producer came up to me one day and he said, hey, Art, do you want to direct my movies? And I thought he was just shitting with me. You know, like, come on, you know? And that was it. A week later, I get a call. We have an appointment to meet with the producer to discuss your first film for our company, and the rest is history.
Wow. That is so
You
cool.
know?
And what about writing? When did you decide to try doing writing?
I didn't. I'm the worst student. I kid you not. In the 10th grade, I think it was, I got almost straight F's in high school. I was terrible. And what happened is that here I am already choreographing, directing, making money for people. And a friend of mine said, hey, I've got this friend of mine who wants to do a film. He has $500,000. It's burning a hole in his pocket. So I said, come on down, Dad. And so I never produced a film or never wrote a film, but I directed. So I started looking at, at call sheets. Call sheets are those that have all the list of all the elements you need on a film set.
Yep.
And so I said, I'll produce it. Of course I will. Somebody's throwing money at me. I ain't going to turn it down. And so then I hired a writer who happened to be an alcoholic. He was a good writer, but he's an alcoholic. And again, everything we're talking about is cash. So that tells you the kind of people we're dealing with. So I hired this writer, and 3 weeks later, the guy hasn't written a damn thing, and I'm in a panic. I'm dreaming of horses' heads in my bed, and I'm thinking, oh my God. So then I picked up, at the time it was a word processor, and I picked up a book on how to write screenplays, and there I am typing.
Wow.
I taught myself, and what the thing was, I put my ego aside, Ryan, because I wrote this. I started reading scripts, of course. I started just copying them in terms of how they flow and how they describe things, and I didn't know anything. I just don't want a horse's head in my bed, so I'm typing away, and I would show my first script. There was an assistant on the set who was helping me put the film together. He's very experienced, educated, UCLA, the whole thing. So what I would do is I'd show him the script, and the first review from him was, Art, this is a complete piece of crap. Okay. And then, so what do I do? He said, well, this is good. So then I took it from there. I went through that process about 3 or 4 times with him when it became less and less crap,
Yeah.
And it finally turned out really good. As a matter of fact, that film was in 2000, and we ended up hiring Martin Cove, and John Saxon.
Wow.
And it was an amazing experience because, again, John Saxon as the Dragon, come on.
Yep.
Day one, what do you think I threw into his trailer? Posters, stills, everything.
Which movie was that?
I'm paying you, brother.
Was that Final Payback?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm paying you, John. You're on my clock. Here, sign this, sign that. I think it was cool about it, but, I was just a Bruce Lee geek.
That is so cool. Wow.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I started, I directed and produced and wrote. That was my first screenplay. I've written like 30 since then. I'm working on one right now, but out of them, have probably about half a dozen produced, maybe 9 or 10 produced into films.
Richard Grieco was in that one, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Richard Grieco, and he's the ladies' man. He was a lady. I mean, he still looks good now, but I'm talking about then. He was like, wow, I'm straight. Number one, I'm straight. I'm married. I have kids. But man, I was just so infatuated with him. I had a boy crush on him.
I remember ever since 21 Jump Street and his show, I think, was it Booker? That was a spinoff.
Yeah,
it was a good show.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Brian, he came to the set because I had worked with him on a film before.
Oh,
and
okay.
and we couldn't afford the same rate. We did a film called Point Doom. I met him and worked with him and directed him and Andrew Dice Clay,
Nice.
and G. Everhart. Really cool little film. And so afterwards, we became friends, and he says, "Hey, Art, you know what? I heard you're doing a film." I said, "Richard, I'd love to have you, but I can't afford it. I mean, we have half the budget we had on that film." And he said, "Send me the script." So he loved the script, loved the role, called his agent. He says, "Art's not going to bullshit me. You know, take whatever he's got." So basically, we offered him a certain amount of money that we had and gave it to him, and he took it. And I kid you, the first day on the set, I hadn't seen him in like almost a year, 2 years. And we saw each other. It was almost like a scene out of a movie. I see him, he sees me, kisses me on the cheek. And I never wanted to watch that cheek again.
That's so awesome.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy, great actor. And the women were swooning with him. You know, I tell you, man, he's got this thing about him. It's crazy.
When he was on, 21 Jump Street, the only reason he wasn't more popular is because Johnny Depp was on there. It's like,
yeah,
as soon as
exactly.
Johnny Depp left the show, he became the one. So I was like, yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's great to work with. And you know what? All these guys, I've been very, very lucky that 95% of everyone I've worked with in terms of these actors who have name actors, are really wonderful people to work with.
That's cool. Looking through, I know you worked with quite a few people that have been on my show, like Cynthia Rothrock and stuff. And
yeah,
that's looking through your IMDb. There's a ton of stuff on there. That's so awesome. Talk a little bit about the Camacho experiment.
You know, that came out of the blue. I've been talking in talks with the El Rey, with the producers at El Rey for years, and we see each other. And they were very supportive of the Martial Arts Museum, which I support. I'm one of the directors. And out of the blue, during COVID, we got a call. Michael Matsuda, who owns the museum, and myself, we got a call. They said, "Hey, we have a slot for a martial arts action talk show." And we thought about it, and I thought, wow, that's cool. And so Mike and I were brainstorming on ideas and titles and martial arts today and this and that. It's like, and then Michael and another friend of mine came up. "Well, why don't you do it? It's your show, Art. We want you to produce and direct." And then I was thinking of who's going to host it. So then I called the producers up, and I came up with a list of different names. They go, "Well, Art, we want you to host it." I go, "What? I don't know anything about hosting shows. What, are you nuts?" And they go, yeah, no, we want you to do the whole thing. You and Michael can do the whole thing. And so, we went back to the drawing board and, okay, well, let's do this. Let's create a show. And it was during COVID, so everybody was doing these podcasts just like we're doing now, even though we could do it in person, but they were just doing, Zoom calls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I told them. I said, "Guys, if I'm going to do it, I don't do good on Zoom. I'm good at Zoom, but I don't feel that connection. I have to physically feel that connection if I'm going to do it, because, I won't do it else, any other way." They go, "Whatever you want to do, Art." So that's how that came about. They gave us, I think it was like 6 episodes to do.
Mm-hmm.
And what made it unique is that I thought, you know what? There's going to be a lot of people who are better at podcasts, at talk shows, and all that stuff. But how many of them could get down fighting martial arts? It's a martial arts film, so it's a martial arts show. So what I did at the beginning of each show, as I'm trying to introduce the show or the personality is going to be there, I have guys trying to beat the shit out of me. So I'm like, "Hey guys, this is our Camacho Today show. Boom, bop, boom, bop." Cynthia Rothrock, that kind of stuff.
That is cool.
So we made it fun. And we shot it all entirely at the museum and then some on location. But it was just a fun thing. I was nerve-wracking. When you're doing this kind of stuff, believe it or not, Brian, I cannot do anywhere the near the comfort level that you have doing this. You sound so natural, and it's so easy to talk to you.
Thank you. Well, I started in radio when I was 15, so that helps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I basically combined my two loves. I started martial arts at 10 and radio at 15, and I've wanted to combine them since 1997. I was finally able to do it 4 years ago.
Man, that's incredible. Congratulations, because you do it really well.
Thank you.
And I kid you not, I was so nervous. I've been in front of camera. I've been, 20 years in the business. But here it is being Art Camacho and interviewing friends that I've known for years. It was so awkward for me. I even had cue cards with my name. It's like I had to look at it's like, yeah, this is Art Camacho.
Nice. And I know adding video to it, video is a whole nother level. I mean, I do just audio. I know, like people always joke, I got, the face for radio. I have no interest in doing video. So yeah, that's you get the props for that for sure. I mean, you did video, which I would not do, I don't think.
No, thanks, brother. We had 3 cameras. We had, B film. We had footage. And I got so blessed and lucky that a friend of mine, Bill Gottlieb, came on board as a producer. And he's done a lot of promos. He used to do a lot of promos for Warner Brothers and the big studios. And his crew actually had done stuff on Avatar and for Jim Henson. So they came on board and helped us do all our post-production. And it is just so polished. It really is. They created graphics and animated me and the whole 9 yards. I was so blessed that team came on board. Without them, it would have looked very cheap,
That is cool. So do you think you'd ever do something like that again if the opportunity came about?
I think I would. Now that I know how to do it. I'm itching. I was hoping, as a matter of fact, I hate to be jumping around because we're on the phone, but I got a call after the show ended, and the actual person in charge, one of the lawyers in charge, he says, "Hey, yours was one of the highest rated shows that we had at that time." And unfortunately, El Rey disbanded as a network. Mm-hmm. But he says, "Look, if we do El Rey 2.0, we definitely want to bring you back."
That's cool.
So that was a high compliment.
That's
really
cool. They had
some good shows on there. Yeah, I was very blessed. And that's the thing. And that's the thing you'll always hear from Art Camacho is very blessed, lucky, blessed. And of course, yes, I have talent, I have skills, I have drive, but I have more blessings than anything else.
Nice. And it is cool that the episodes are all available on Tubi, so people can still watch it. And I will definitely put a link out there when the episode comes out.
Yeah, it's fun.
So talk about the book. I'm reading about it. I'm actually going to be ordering a copy soon. But talk about the book. What led to that?
You know what led to that was trickery. I'm telling you, man. Michael Matsuda again, my partner in crime. He was doing a lot of interviews for the museum. Uh-huh. And him and another publisher had asked me from time to time, "Hey, you're the Hispanic, you came up in the bar, you're a high school dropout, you're your award-winning director, writer, all this stuff." I was like, "Yeah, yada, yada, yada." That's what my, and so he goes, we should put it in a book. It should be inspiring. I go, "What are you, nuts? No one's going to want to buy, I'm just a schlub out here, man. Selling oranges on the freeway. Come on." And so Mike did an interview with me on camera. He says, "I want to interview you, just record it for the museum." So they asked me a bunch of questions and being interviewed. And the next week he sends me a transcript. He goes, "This is going to be your book." I go, "What book? Are you crazy?" He goes, "Art, edit it, add to it, whatever you want to do. But if not, I'm going to put it out anyway." Oh, God.
Nice.
I am telling you, brother, another one of the situations is like, I went in kicking and screaming. I didn't want to do it. No, I was, like a little child doesn't want to eat his spinach,
Uh-huh.
And so finally I started taking it serious, started looking at different biographies. Same thing. I do a lot of research. So then I started putting it together. And then I thought, I don't want to do a biography per se, but I want to do a book about pivotal points in my life that led me to this place right now. So it's basically my whole journey in life.
Okay.
So I put pivotal points in there from getting beat up to meeting Bruce Lee's mother and all this stuff, and Eric Lee, and then Mike found a bunch of pictures, and we put pictures in there, and then another thing happened when he decided on the cover, and he came up with that picture. It's like, "Oh my God, are you crazy? Get that ugly mug over there! I'll do a jump kick for you. I'll throw a punch. Give me my anything." It's like, I hated it. Here I am, my big mug. I think I'm ugly to start off with, and then plastering it all over the book.
I love the picture, man. I think it's a great picture.
Oh, no, thanks, brother. But I tell you, man. So finally, he does it. He prints the book up, and then he says, "Okay, we're having Dragon Fest," which is, I don't know if you're familiar with Dragon Fest, but it's just kind of a big deal. And he goes, "I got you a booth." I go, "Well, no, Michael, come on, please don't do this to me." And he goes, "I'm going to order so many books, and I want you there. I want you to sell them." I said, "Mike, I'm going to be at a booth with my big ugly mug on the table. These books." It's like, "What are you crazy? Why are you doing this? Why do you hate me?" And I kid you not. So finally, I said, "Okay, we'll compromise. If I sell one book, I'll get with books, but if I sell one book, that's it. Boom, I'm an author, and we're done. I pack up the books, I close the table, and I'm done. I said, that's all I want. I'm not going to stand around there. Please buy my book." And so we go there. I did not sleep the night before, Brian. Oh. I was like, "Oh my God.
Wow.
If I smoked, I'd be smoking packs of cigarettes, So show up the next day and, putting the books out there. And I'm like, dreading it. And I kid you not, we were so, so blessed. I mean, over that weekend, we sold, I think it was like 150, 200 books.
Nice.
And it was like, oh my God, they're going to want refunds now, man. No refunds. No refunds, man.
That's awesome.
And I get people will come to me from time to time because sometimes, again, I don't know what you've experienced with talking to all these really good people, is that a lot of people, let's say on the outside looking at people who do movies or high end in martial arts, they really think that I don't know, the perception is that I grew up with these opportunities when I didn't. I grew up in the barrio. I grew up fat. I grew up least talented. I grew up getting into gangs and stuff and having zero martial arts talent, zero physical abilities. But I created that, and God, again, took me to this place. And so when they hear your story, it's their story. My story is everyone's story. And so if I could do it, I tell everybody, if I could do it, if this fat little Mexican here with the sunglasses could do it, anybody can. Live the dream. Live the dream.
That is awesome. And has it been selling fairly well then?
Yeah, it did for a while. And then right now what I'm doing, I'm actually doing another whatever you call it, but part 2.
Okay.
Because so many things have happened. Because here's the thing, Brian. Again, this is important because we'll talk about all the movies and all that fun stuff. But here's the thing. In terms of, let's say, people that I've wanted to meet, people that I've grown up watching in films, like, for instance, even in Mexican wrestling, for instance, there's the luchadors. I don't know if you're familiar with those masked Mexican wrestlers.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a big deal. It's like, let's say, The Rock or John Cena over there in South America and Mexico and around the world. These masked wrestlers are iconic. So much so that some of them, they have actual big statues, like president statues in the heart of Mexico City, And here I am, Art Camacho from nowhere, meeting and hanging out with them and calling them family now. I mean, some of these people that I grew up watching, it's like, holy moly, and just life experiences, or the Bruce Lee family, all these things that have come to me. And in films, working with Steven Seagal and Dolph, it's like, oh my God,
That's cool.
I grew up in those worlds, and so I've been very, very blessed. But again, it's stuff that we make happen. We manifest it,
Yeah. That's really awesome. So do you have any upcoming projects you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. We're Ruthless. Actually, I released a film this year.
Okay.
Saban Entertainment released a film called Ruthless with an actor called Dermot Mulroney.
Oh,
I was one of the writers.
Love Dermot.
Produced and directed it. And I was so blessed. It was one of those things, too. I really felt it could have been much stronger, but it was really well received. It went to #1 on Hulu and stayed in the top 10 for like 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very, very blessed. And Dermot was amazing to work with. I don't know if you're familiar with his work.
He's such a good actor. Amazing. Yeah, big fan of his. Yeah.
Oh my God. We became brothers. I mean, every now and then we'll get together for lunch, or I'll see him play, and I'm actually writing a project for him.
Oh, nice.
So that's Ruthless, that came out in April this year.
Okay. Yeah, I just watched him in something. I can't remember what. I literally just watched him in something like a couple weeks ago. So
really,
yeah.
A TV series or a movie?
I'm trying to remember. I'll have to go back and look, because I know it's something very, very recent. Like, most likely it's something.
Right. Well,
he's working a lot.
Yeah, he's on a series right now. He just got a series called. It's a really cool series, and the sweetest guy. I'm telling you, Brian, the most down to earth guy you can imagine.
That's cool.
Most down to earth guy. We recently went to an event, and afterwards, a lot of the kitchen help came out, and they were like, "Oh my God, my best friend's wedding!" They were like, "Oh." Oh, and he was like taking pictures and autographs for everybody, even though he's running late. I had to take him to the airport.
Yeah.
But he was just such a good guy.
Oh, he was in Lights Out. He was in the movie Lights Out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With Frank Grillo. I knew it. I just watched it a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Frank is blown up all over the world.
I know. I'm trying to get him on the show, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. He's pretty busy.
He's a little more challenging. He's a good guy. I met him over the phone because we were going to do a film together once, and his film fell through. But we stayed in contact. Good guy. Good
nice.
guy.
That's
really,
cool.
Really happy for him. But yeah, I just finished working on this film called The Wrecker, which we're finishing post-production on.
Okay.
And The Wrecker stars Harvey Keitel and Tyrese.
Oh, nice.
It was so amazing to work with. I mean, number one, Tyrese. I mean, the guy is amazing, number one. But to me, Harvey Keitel was the most down to earth, very genuinely, just a good guy and great
Really?
actor. Yeah, easygoing guy, and we became friends, and just good guy overall. I'm a big fan. And that's the thing, Brian. I still, even though I've been in this industry for about 30 years, close to 30 years, and I'm still a big fan. I'm still that little kid that buying his ticket at the theater and watching these guys,
That's cool.
It's so exciting. And so those two films. And then right now, I'm finishing up right now writing a film called, the working title is Gunfight at Bull Run. It's a Western, my first Western that I'm going to be actually directing.
Nice.
And it is coming out so good. So good. We've had it reviewed. We're taking it to big agencies. So as soon as I'll call you personally once we get our actors locked in, but we're looking at some major actors.
Awesome.
This one. It's exciting because it's really a story of redemption post-Civil War about two brothers who are on opposite sides of the war who have to come together. And there's a slave and a prostitute involved. It's an Art Camacho film, nevertheless.
Nice.
And a train robbery. But very blessed. And then next year I have this other, it's a superhero urban action film that I'm going to be directing.
Nice.
First quarter of next year as well. So, I tell you, Brian, very blessed, and just keeping it going, and and the thing is, I've been spat on. I've been, people tell me no all the time, but I get up, wipe the boogers off my face, and keep going.
That's awesome. That is so cool. I'm so happy for you. That's just so cool. And keep putting out good stuff, and I'll keep watching it. So that's good.
Nah, thank you. And another thing I was going to tell you, I don't know if you remember this film. Again, it's a film, it's a play, it's a musical called Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah, so all three of my kids grew up in theater. And,
oh my God.
Yeah. And my oldest son, who's now 25, his first high school musical was Jesus Christ Superstar. He was in that.
Oh my God. Well,
that show.
Oh yeah. Come on, it's great. Actually, do you know that Ted Neely was the first? He started in the movie and he started in the musical for years and years. So I met Ted Neely.
Wow.
I met him years ago at a play. Basically, he was doing the musical. He came afterwards and talked to us. And since then, I've seen him from time to time. And he was so inspiring to me because not only in the movie, but in the play. And he's such a genuine person. I just saw him again. I saw him last week because they were doing a final run of the movie. What he does, they'll show the movie, he'll watch it with you, and you can talk with him afterwards or before.
That's cool.
And so I just wanted to tell him thank him again, because one of the things that I say now, I use that a lot. I say live the dream, and I took that from him many, many years ago. Because when I met him, we started talking. We talked for about half an hour after one of his showings. And we talked about the scene in the Garden of Gethsemane when, if you're familiar with the play, that's when Jesus is having doubt and he's asking God, why? Why me?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I have to die? And I asked him, I said, Ted, what was your inspiration for that scene? He says, Art, the scene wasn't about God. It wasn't about Jesus. It was about a son talking to his father. He's asking his father, why? Why do I have to suffer? And he says that vulnerability, that sadness, the sorrow, because if your father loves you, why are you making me go through this? That's what the scene was about. And I'm telling you, Brian, that touched me so much. And then I had a program. And then I had him sign it. And the last thing he says is, great meeting you, Art, and all this stuff. But he says, Art, keep living the dream, because that's what God wants you to do.
Nice.
And it stuck to me, Brian. It stuck to me because, you know what? Life is rough. I had it rough. I mean, I'm telling you the highlights of the life. And I'm going to tell you the lowlights when I haven't had enough to pay bills, when I literally had to dig into, nickels and dimes out of couches trying to pay some gas. Or when I had to eat top ramen soups because they're 10 for $1.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through all that. And I still, this year was challenging. But I've been very blessed.
Yeah.
And it keeps me afloat. It keeps me going, And so that's it, brother. Whether it's film or it's martial arts, whatever the passion is in your heart, whatever your belief is. I'm not pushing God. I'm not pushing religion. I'm just telling you that's my perspective. But whatever your belief system is, I don't think we're just here just to eat, breathe, and die.
Yeah.
We're here to do something. Just like you're doing some great things with your podcast. You really are.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
that's exciting. No, I'm happy for you. I really am, brother. I mean, 4 years and going, and you're talking about Cynthia Rothrock and all these people you've interviewed. How cool is that?
Yeah, as I've been lucky. They keep saying yes. I mean, that's the big thing is I've only had like 4 people in 4 years actually say no to me. And 2 of them were this week. So other than that, pretty much everyone I've asked has said yes. So that's good.
Oh, man. Well, you're a good guy. You're a good guy. And you're doing, I mean, look at how wonderful you are to talk to.
I appreciate that.
Seriously, brother.
So I know you growing up a Bruce Lee fan, Bruce Lee was really into philosophy and stuff, and you got to see his library. So I'm just curious, in your martial arts career, in your life, what is one philosophy that's at the top of your list? Would you say keep living the dream, or is there another one?
You know what? I think it's that. I think it's living the dream, because I think at the end of the day, we as human beings, we put limitations on our own selves.
Mm-hmm.
We put limitations on our own selves because of where we come from, because of our upbringing. I mean, I came from one of the worst backgrounds you can imagine.
Yeah.
Both physically, parents, broken home, and yet I had a dream. And yet I didn't even realize that I had this dream that was so deeply ingrained in myself. And whatever force it was, again, I keep saying God, but whatever it is, I don't want to push God if you don't believe in God, but whatever force it was, it took me on this journey, took me to put me on the path to meet Eric Lee, put me on the path to hire John Saxon, took me on the path to be at Bruce Lee's house, to meet my idols in wrestling, to have this conversation with Ted Neely that touched me so much. It put me on the path to work with Steven Seagal or Dolph Lundgren or Don Wilson, who, I did, I think, 22 films with Don.
Wow.
How crazy is that?
That's cool.
Crazy. Yeah. I directed him in 4 of them and choreographed the others.
That's
Or
awesome.
working with Cynthia Rothrock,
Nice.
Craziness when I think about it. When I think about all these things, it took me on the path where I'm directing a film in Russia. I made history, Brian. I was the first Latino to direct a Russian movie in Russia.
That's awesome.
It wasn't even an action film. It was a dramatic story. It was basically a love story wrapped around the introduction of soccer from England to Russia.
Okay.
Crazy, huh?
That's cool. That's really cool.
Camacho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All
And
right.
having a talk show, Brian. What the heck am I doing?
You're living the dream.
You know what?
Come on.
Living the dream. And I'm going to ask you a question. You've been in martial arts a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've been to tournaments, correct?
I'm not really a competitor myself. I've been there for other people, but yeah, I've only done one tournament in my life.
Okay, but you've been to tournaments, right?
Yes.
You've been to big ones. You've been to Long Beach Internationals.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
been to different ones.
Yep.
Now I'm going to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
When have you entered a tournament where they had helicopters, tigers, monkeys, filmed a movie, auctioning off movie rolls, and giving away Vegas shows as prizes?
Wow. That I've never done.
Art Camacho did it.
Wow.
I did a tournament in Vegas. The stupidest thing I've ever done in my life, but I did it.
That is cool.
We had a tiger. We had monkeys. We had helicopters in there.
Wow.
We had flew in a big producer from Paramount Studios to award a prize. We shot a film there. I'm telling you, brother, it was on. It's only Art Camacho.
That's awesome.
I'm telling you, Star Bash. We did that in Vegas.
Nice.
So we made history there, brother.
Yeah, definitely.
We almost made history in the wrong way, because at one point the monkey got loose and aggravated the tiger, and the tiger almost got away from the trainer. It was like this tiger's head was, I kid you not, probably about 3-4 feet, in diameter. Huge tiger's head, man.
That's
he almost got loose in the arena. That's Star Bash.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in all your years, whether it's martial arts, stunts, what's your worst martial arts related injury?
I think the one I'm going through right now is, it's been going on 3 years, where I screwed up my shoulder.
Oh.
I've ripped my bicep. That wasn't bad, but broken toes here and there. But just the shoulder thing, it's just killing me. It's kind of limiting a lot of what I can do.
Dang.
And it's my right shoulder. I'm right-handed. Everything's like, you have to adjust.
Yeah. Yeah, injuries are never fun.
No, man. No. I tell you. I've ripped hamstrings. I've done all kinds of stuff. But even when I ripped a hamstring, I still performed. I still fought out there and still, went out there and used my left leg instead of my right leg.
Yeah. That's crazy. All right. How about MMA? Is that something you're a fan of? Are you a fan of the UFC?
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I think it's good. I think what I really appreciate about it is that it brings reality to fighting. because a lot of times when we do sparring, it's all limited. We're all, we can't hit the head, we can't, do certain things.
Yeah.
But there, I think the thing that I don't see enough of is good hand skills.
Yeah.
Because, these guys have good defensive skills. Because if you see really prime boxers, whether it's Mayweather or again, Manny Pacquiao, someone who I've met, you see their defensive capabilities. And going back to Ali, look at our defensive capabilities. He could come within a fraction of that punch, just move slightly, and you miss him. Whereas with most of the MMA that I've seen, they go in there, they're, excuse my language, but balls out. They're just boom, 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 hitting, taking the hits, as opposed to being more defensive and then striking, That's
Right.
the only thing if there's a criticism, that's the only criticism I have, but I love it. I think, as a matter of fact, a lot of these guys that I've worked with, whether it's Cabo Cerrone or Rampage Jackson, good guys as human beings and great fighters,
Nice. All right. I have a few fun questions we use to wrap up the show. We were just talking about MMA. So let's say you decided you were going to walk into the octagon. What song is playing as you're taking that walk? What's your walk-up music going to be?
Eye of the Tiger. Eye of the Tiger, brother.
Nice. I love it. That's actually one of my ringtones. That's my mom's favorite song, so that's her ringtone when she calls me.
I love it. I love it, man.
That's awesome. All right. How about 3, 4, 5 names you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts? And I'm pretty sure the first one's Bruce Lee.
Absolutely. Bruce Lee's number 1. Bruce Lee's number 2. Don Wilson's number 3. Cynthia Rothrock number 4. Eric Lee number 5. Well, nice. You know what? Let me switch that around. Bruce Lee, Eric Lee, Don, and Cynthia.
Okay. Nice. I love it. That's a good Mount Rushmore. That's pretty stacked, actually. And 3 of them have been on my show, so that's kind of cool.
Nice.
Unfortunately, I never got to interview Bruce, but the other 3 were good interviews, so that's cool. Cool. Nice. All right. How about a favorite martial arts book?
I don't have one. I think, there's a couple that I really like. Eric Lee's got, 2 or 3 books out there which are great. His biography, An Artist's Journey, is great. But in terms of martial arts and affecting change, to me, is a non-martial arts book called The Prophet.
Oh, okay.
By Khalil Gibran. That one is just so inspirational because, to me, half of the martial arts is internal. The physicality is out there, but the internal thing, to express that, to have that martial arts spirit, that's important, equally important, if not more.
Nice. I'll have to add that one to my list. No one's ever mentioned that one yet, so I like it. Okay. How about, now this one you may not have an answer for, but do you have a favorite martial arts video game? Did you ever get into video games when you were younger?
No, I never did. We were poor. Sorry, brother.
Okay. No worries. That's all good.
Poor Mexican here, Brian. Come on.
Yeah, it's all good. All right. So these last couple, you can't pick anything that you've worked on. So that might be a little tough, but favorite martial arts TV show?
I think the Highlander series. I like that.
Love it. Great show.
And I worked with him too. He was the one of 2 American actors that we had in Russia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Adrian Pauly. He was on my show too.
Oh my God. Brilliant, and nice guy. Really
super nice.
Working with him.
Yeah. He was fun.
Highlander TV series. So Highlander, and going back to one of my first inspirations, Kung Fu.
Nice. David Carradine. Yep. I like it.
Yeah.
That one gets picked. I think that one gets picked a lot, actually.
Yeah. As corny as it is now, but I still watch it, and then it takes me back,
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard to watch those fight scenes now. It's still a great show, but those fight scenes are hard to watch.
It is. But I tell you, man.
Imagine what a good fight choreographer could have done with that.
Oh my God. But the funny thing is, just like with a lot of these shows, you have to suspend reality.
Yes.
Suspend reality. I did that recently because I'm doing more research on the script that I'm writing, Western, and I was watching Unforgiven, which is an Academy Award.
Yes, great.
Brilliant film. But here's the thing, you're so vested in the character, in the story. So at the end, when he does one of the final shootouts, you kind of give him, you let him fudge a little bit, because when he's doing the shootout and there's 6, 7 guys in the room, it's almost like every cut, they point the gun, they wait, then he shoots them. They point the gun, they wait. I mean, but you forgive him because it's so brilliant of a film. So you suspend reality for those seconds because it's so dramatic and so powerful.
Yeah.
But I love that. I love Clint Eastwood's films, man. My God. That one and Outlaw Josie Wells, my all-time favorite.
I think my favorite, I love his Westerns, but I think my favorite Clint Eastwood one is when he's the Marine the Marine gunny sergeant.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Why can I not remember that show?
Oh, I can't either, but I know because I'm looking at his face right now with hands and that was a good one. It wasn't Breakheart Ridge, was it?
Heartbreak Ridge. Yes.
Heartbreak
Such
Ridge,
a good show. Yeah, that's probably my favorite Clint Eastwood movie, I think. So my favorite Western is actually Tombstone.
Really? That's cool.
Tombstone is one of only 2 movies I've ever gone to 4 nights in a row in the movie theater.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when that came out, me and my friends 4 nights in a row, and the other one was right around the same time was the boxing movie Gladiator with Brian Dennehy, Cuba Gooding Jr. Yeah. Both of those 4 nights in a row.
Oh man! Well, you know what? The funny thing is, that was Cuba Gooding, right? When he was doing the boxing.
Yep.
I had met Cuba Gooding. I was an extra on a TV series, and he was playing a guest starring role. And we started talking. This was before he became anything.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and goes, "Hey, we start talking." I told him I do martial arts. He goes, "Hey, I need some training. Would you mind hooking me up or training with me? Because I'm set to do this movie where I'm going to do some boxing." And so he gave me his number, but I'm thinking, yeah, right. He's going to be somebody big one day, right?
Yeah.
Little did I know. And I lost his number. It's like,
oh man, dang.
I kid you not.
Yep. I mean, I remember him when he was on an episode of MacGyver back in the 80s.
Yeah. But I think I met him afterwards, but he was just a nice guy, very humble. It's sad what happened to him, whatever happens, but good guy,
cool.
Great actor.
How about a favorite martial arts movie?
Again, the classic to me is all time is Enter the Dragon.
Yes. The only that's usually my number 2. My number 1 is always The Karate Kid, because that's the movie that got me into martial arts. That's the only reason it's number 1.
Oh, nice.
So that was my generation's Enter the Dragon. I was 10 years old when that came out, and literally the local Tung Sudo school was in the lobby handing out free passes after the movie.
Wow. Well, again, Karate Kid. That's why I hired William Zabka for my first film as a director.
Nice.
I hired him as the lead bad guy. He's a good guy.
That is cool. All right. My final 2 questions. Now, this one, any movie you've ever seen in your life, favorite movie fight scene?
It goes back to either Chinese Connection or Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
I mean, just the excitement and again, the reason being is that, again, going back to what I told you before, the explosiveness of Bruce Lee, it's almost like you with other fight scenes, you could almost predict the movement, what's happening next, this A and B, sort of punch and kick. Here, he's so explosive, so dynamic, and so almost anything he does is unpredictable. You know it because you've seen it.
Yeah.
But you see his body. Wow. So those 2 films.
Yeah, seen it many times. I actually went for the 50th anniversary. I finally got to see it on the big screen last summer, so that was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
that was
That's
for
awesome.
me. That was, and my at the time 20-year-old son is like, "Can I come with?" I'm like, "Yes."
Of course.
Yeah. So me and my 20-year-old son got to go to the first time, both of us seeing it on the big screen. So that's pretty cool.
How cool is that?
That was
cool.
pretty cool.
Brother.
And I was sad because there were only like 20 people in the theater. And I like when I knew it was happening, I called the theater beforehand. I'm like, I will, if you get me posters, I'll put them up. I'll go to every martial arts school in town. I'll promote the heck out of this so you sell it out. And they're like, no, we can't give out posters to non-employees. And I'm like, seriously? They didn't want help promoting it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I could have filled this place for you. And I talked to so many people afterwards. We didn't know it was happening. We didn't know it was on, or we would have came. I'm like, that's a theater's fault. So
well, you know what? I saw one of these over here, and it was so cool because I was sitting with Bob Wall, and that was so cool. Even though him and I had been friends for years, but to sit there watching him on screen fight Bruce Lee, come on,
that is awesome. That is really cool. Nice. Yeah. All right, my final question. You mentioned having kids. I'm curious, have your kids got involved in martial arts?
Yeah, they did early on, and then they left it. But at least one of my daughters, she reached black belt level, and my main thing was them just to learn how to fight, to defend themselves. That's all. Beyond that, whatever they want to do,
Oh, that's the important thing. Like, I personally think everyone should try it at some point in their life, especially kids. So I mean, it's at least get them in there, and if they stick with it, they do. If not, maybe they'll come back to it later in life. But at least you gave them that taste, so that's good.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Before I let you go, is there anything I forgot to ask you, or we want to be sure to get out there quick before we wrap it up?
No, the only thing, brother, is I really want to stress how much I owe the martial arts, my life and my career. And I've just been very blessed. I mean, I go through a lot of ups and downs, whether it's financial, emotional, moral, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, the martial arts gave me a center in my soul that really sustains me and gives me a reason to keep going on. That's the best thing I can say.
Seriously, man, this has been a blast. I've so loved talking to you and hearing your story, and I do truly hope to meet you in person someday, but I can't wait to get this episode out. I think people are going to really love this one.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. It's been wonderful, Brian. Anything you need, brother. Anything you need, brother. When you have a friend. You made a friend for life until you tell me to go to hell.
I appreciate it, man. I look forward to staying in touch.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.